What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ, aka Token Black Guy, and there for the first time, hit that like button, that subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. So, I did watch episode 3 of Ahsoka. I'm currently going through the hurricane right now, so I have plenty of time today to sit down and watch the show. So, yeah, I enjoyed the episode. It was a little, I guess, shorter. I mean, shorter than the other two. I think only like 35 minutes. Which is kind of my fear. I always say they get shorter and shorter, but it wasn't as high pace as the other one, a little slower, but it did have good action sequences. We watched Sabine get some training from Ahsoka. They made it to the little circle portal thing that the witch girl is building. They were hunted down by the Inquisitor and the other, I can't remember her name, but the other not Sith girl, the one that's under the other guy. But yeah, they had a little space fight and everything. So, we saw the space whales, I forget what they're called, but yeah, they made an appearance. But I really enjoyed the episode. This series so far, I think it's going strong. So I'm a newer Star Wars fan, so there's always some things that I might miss. So that's why we're here with New Rock Stars tonight to get this breakdown of episode 3 with Mr. Eric Voss. So, headphones on. And let's check this bad boy out. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of Star Wars Ahsoka Episode 3, Time to Fly. Baylan Skoll saw a few Purgle in the clouds of Cetas in Episode 2,
That's
and
what they're
sure
called,
enough,
Purgles.
they are back to really apologize. We're sorry for taking
like Dory from
friend. Oh, please don't click away. No more whale speak in this video, I promise. Let's break down this episode scene by scene for all the Star Wars Easter eggs and details you missed. Okay, we see the same opening metallic faces and helmets as last week: Vader, 3PO, Clone Trooper helmet, HK Assassin Droid, the Inquisitor, Marok, Huyang, Stormtrooper, Chopper, and Sabine's helmet. So quick note on Marok before we begin. I did not address this before because I think it's a very silly theory. But no, I do not think
he's not Ezra.
Ezra Bridger. Are
it doesn't
you
make
kidding
sense
me?
for him to be Ezra.
To come back from this other galaxy, and regardless of his dark side temptations, our man would never have broke bad and become a freaking Inquisitor. Come on, have we learned nothing from Rebels? By the way, if you haven't seen all of Rebels and don't have time to watch all those episodes, or you just want a refresher, we made Rebels an excellent 4-part Rebels recap series to catch you all up on all of the episodes, the characters, the Easter eggs, and the bits of lore that you need to know. Please watch those and share those with all the others out there who are like, I don't know how to get into this series. Now, when it comes to Marok, we did see Sam Witwer's
Sam Witwer, that's been the thing going around on Twitter, so
leading some to believe that Marok could be Star Killer, but Marok's performance has been done by stunt actor Paul Darnell. We also saw his name in the credits of episode 2, and Sam Witwer is just one of these regular Lucasfilm dudes who voices one-off characters like that Shore Trooper and Andor. He could have voiced any of those droids or helmeted figures. Like, notice how his name also appears besides names like Matthew Wood, the sound editor who has voiced General Grievous, and Bib Fortuna. So who knows, we may just get a number of voices that echo through the past in a future episode, and a sound team
I did see everybody on Twitter talking
who helped
about
out
that
on the season. But in this episode, Marok actually speaks.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta admit, the voice does sound a bit like Sam Witwer to me, but Sam is also just a very good voice actor whose voice is just kind of like the taste of chicken. Everything sounds like it. But the most important detail is that in the credits of this episode, the role of Marok is fully credited to Paul Darnell, which is a big upgrade from him just being credited for stunts last week. Now, Witwer's name does once again appear at the very end of the credits with the additional voices section, just as it has appeared in episode 1 and 2. So I just don't know if they would have credited Marok entirely to Paul Darnell if Witwer had been voicing him. Like, they bumped up Darnell's credit in an episode in which the character speaks. That's a big deal. Episode credits are contractually required to be accurate. And I know some of you may say, well, there was that episode of Rebels, season 4, episode 11, where Dave Filoni credited the Lothwolf Doom to the Force. But folks, that was animation. In live action, episode credits are taken very seriously. So all of this is really to say, I don't know, we're 3 out of 8 episodes in, and I think Marok is just gonna be Marok. Okay, the episode opens with Ahsoka's T6 in hyperspace. When we saw hyperspace looking like this in The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 1, Grogu saw a Purgle floating past them. And yes, this is a very big Purgle episode. Huyang trains with Sabine using a Bakken, which is a Japanese wooden sword used for training in Kinjutsu. Huyang says, These are form positions. They are numbered similar to the Mandoa numbers that the armorer shouted at Din Djarin while training him with a Darksaber in the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5.
It's not like martial arts too. They're
And of course, we're
numbered.
reminded of Sabine training with the Darksaber with Ezra and Kanan in Rebel Season 3, Episode 15, Trials of the Darksaber.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
These were the basics originally taught to Sabine by Ezra in that episode, and Sabine made a bit of progress with the Darksaber. It started to feel lighter in her hands, but she later handed it off to Bo-Katan at the beginning of Rebel Season 4. So other than that period, and whatever Ahsoka taught her in the in-between years, Sabine is still very much a novice. Here, Hu Yang, the Jedi Order's architect droid and expert on lightsabers, uses these 4 hollow sabers, looking a bit like General Grievous, 4-dogging it like that, but these are to record the vector and the accuracy of Sabine's swings. Light yellow for more accurate, orange for off-target and more askew angles. Ahsoka proposes,
how about Zatoichi?
this is a reference to Zatoichi, the blind swordsman, the recurring character in 25 Japanese samurai films from 1962 to 1973. George Lucas cited the Hidden Fortress and the Seven Samurai as inspirations for Star Wars.
That's
This
very
technique involves
interesting.
Sabine wearing this blindfold mask, similar to the ones worn by Padawans in the Jedi Temple that we saw in Attack of the Clones, and the makeshift one that Obi-Wan had Luke wear on the Falcon in A New Hope, but this mask has an interesting symbol on it. Kind of reminds me of something that they might have had in the Jedi Temple training room that we saw in flashbacks in Rebel Season 2, Episode 18, Shroud of Darkness, when the future Grand Inquisitor wore masks, but those had eye holes in it. A similar mask that Kanan Jarrus put on after he was blinded in the Season 2 finale of Rebels, in that Malachor Sith Temple. Thrawn did keep one of these Jedi Temple masks on his desk in Season 3 and 4. This blindfold mask might also be based on the Kendo mask, which is used in Japanese swords martial arts, but I just find it interesting that Ahsoka keeps this whole training set on her ship, with lightsaber training instruments recovered or rebuilt with Hu Yang to keep this art form alive. Even if she's uninterested in the Jedi Order,
well,
like
she's
she
helping Luke out, right? At one point,
to descend to the floor to give her more room for activities. Ahsoka tells Sabine,
I want
she would be trying to get
more
stuff.
than just your eyes.
yes, this is the kind of thing Kanan Jarrus had to learn after he was blinded by Maul at the end of Season 2 of Rebels, how to see with more than just your eyes. While Sabine is blindfolded, they do this awesome camera editing trick.
Do you know where I am?
Next to Hu Yang.
Are you sure?
I love that.
Very funny.
I love it. We don't see Ahsoka walk to Sabine's right side, and the sound mix edits Rosario Dawson's voice to be closer and on the right side of the stereo mix at first, but then shifts to be on the left side of the stereo mix when she suddenly appears on the left side of frame. We experience the same subjective confusion that Sabine does. The camera stays on Sabine alone in frame for a few seconds, and then yes, since Sabine cannot see where Ahsoka is, neither can we. Sabine swings at more air than the lightsaber kid, but there is one moment she makes progress.
Yes, he feels it.
Yeah, she actually did use a bit of the Force there to sense the bucking behind her, but then she just gets too greedy with a kill lunge for getting her footing so Ahsoka can trip her. So it's not Sabine's lack of Force sensitivity, though she is definitely number to the Force than the Jedi are. It's really Sabine's impatience. Ahsoka says,
Anger and frustration are quick to give power, but they also unbalance you.
yeah, Ahsoka means that literally and metaphorically, as fear is the path to the dark side, leads to anger, hate, separate, etc. But the Force is really the balance between them. Onto the New Republic fleet. We see 4 blue-painted A-Wings flying in formation past Home 1, that is Admiral Akbar's Mon Calamari flagship from Return of the Jedi. We see some CR-90 Corvettes, those are the ones with the 11 engines like the Tantive 4 had, and a Hammerhead Corvette. We saw these in Rogue One. The planet they orbit has a vast cityscape surface, could be Coruscant, but currently, the New Republic's capital is Chandrila, that's Mon Mothma's homeworld. The capital currently rotates among the core worlds. In the future, it's going to be Hosnian Prime, that's the system that gets destroyed by Starkiller Base in The Force Awakens. Chandrila has more green land and oceans. It's not completely an urban cityscape, so I'm assuming it's either Coruscant or Hosnian Prime. Probably Coruscant. Hera checks in with First Officer Vic Hawkins.
She's waiting. There are several senators with her. One of them is Ziono.
Not Ziono! Senator Hamato Ziono is, I think, the first major detail to be pulled in live action from the Star Wars Resistance animated series.
I have not watched Resistance,
Ziono, pilot of the Resistance,
no idea.
From Hosnian Prime, and Papa Ziono stubbornly refuses to accept Kazuda joining the Resistance, considering them extremists. Boo! Inside this room, which again seems to be the auditorium-style room that we saw Mon Mothma give everyone the briefing about the Bothans in Return of the Jedi. Hera greets Chancellor Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly, returning from Andor, now elected the first Chancellor after the fall of the Empire. With her is Senator Ziono, Senator Rodrigo, Senator Marwood, and a Senator of the Grand Race. Now there was a Grand Senator named Ask-Ak, who was a Palpatine loyalist during the prequel era, but I don't think he'd be in the New Republic government this high up, but who knows? Apparently a loyalty oath with your fingers crossed behind your back is enough to get the top job with space Nazi destroyers
apparently.
unsupervised. Mon Mothma asks,
Hera, you look well. How's young Jason?
Fine, Chancellor. In fact,
We actually
he's
get to
on
see him.
board. Somewhere.
We were talking about it in Storm
Causing
Live last
trouble
week,
with
how
Chopper,
old he
no
would be,
doubt.
and we
yes,
got it
they're referring
right.
to Jason Syndulla, Hera's son with Kanan Jarrus, revealed in the final minutes of the Rebels finale episode. He's played in this episode by Evan Whitten. Dave Filoni has said that Jason's name, Jacen, is a tribute to the Legends character Jason Solo, the son of Han and Leia, who eventually becomes a Sith Lord, Darth Caedius. Yeah, don't name your
Ooh,
kid
did
Jason.
not
Senator
know
Rodrigo
about
says
that
the Imperial
storyline.
loyalists on Corellia are outliers since ex-Imps had to take these oaths of loyalty, and it's kind of hard to see here if she's just naive or actively pro-Empire. But with Rodrigo and Xiono and that shifty-looking Grand Senator, like notice how he nods when Xiono shuts down Hera's task force request. That would be either 3-2 or 4-1 on any vote they had about
Yeah.
this. Take it away, Kent.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Democracy simply doesn't work.
Hera alludes to Thrawn's allies working on a way to find him. In addition to Morgan Elsbeth, we know of the Shadow Council in The Mandalorian Season 3, including
Forgot
Captain
about them.
Pelion, that was Thrawn's right-hand man in the Timothy Zahn novels and currently played by Xander Berkeley in live action. Saw him in The Mandalorian Chapter 23. Mothma remembers Thrawn for how effective he was against Hera's Phoenix Squadron over Lothal in the final season of Rebels, which led to Hera crashing an X-Wing on Lothal, getting captured, tortured, and Kanan's death while rescuing her. Hera calls out Xiono, though.
Were you
Yeah.
ever in the war, Senator?
No.
Just sat back and waited to see who came out on top?
Damn! So Hera currently represents the views of Senator Leia Organa,
She's a
who
general
Claudia
now, so
Gray's
she got some-
Bloodline novel
got some,
explores during these years as a Republic leader ousted by New Republic political corruption and leaves to form the Resistance. Hera's defiance to Xiono here may later make Kazuda joining the Resistance feel personal. Now, real quick, Hera warns,
Thrawn is not your typical Imperial officer.
Got that right.
I know because I fought against him. He killed friends, people who were like family to me.
Now, it is worth noting that Thrawn doesn't really kill many major characters in Rebels. Like, Kanan died because Governor Price blasted the fuel depot, a decision that Thrawn actually hated because it slowed down the production of his TIE Defenders. But his decisions absolutely killed a lot of people. Many Phoenix Squadron pilots, Rebel fighters, innocent Lothal residents. He shot Bendu. Just kidding, Bendu didn't die. He faded away laughing. So we're learning here how attached Hera was to all these victims. Jason asks,
Is it true Aunt Sabine's gonna be a Jedi?
Now, where did you hear that?
Orange pants,
Chopper
man.
told me.
Chopper! The war criminal himself.
I love Chopper's utterances, and I don't know if this was a growl or an awkward, but remember, Chopper was the one Ezra handed his lightsaber off to. He's the one who tossed Sabine that lightsaber in the Rebels finale episode. He wants this transition to happen. And also, Hera, Chopper's not the best babysitter. He's gonna teach Jason how to be a war criminal. Now,
That's why I said
Jason,
he's
of
a
course,
freaking
then
war criminal.
asks,
I want to be a Jedi.
Yeah, I know you do, Jason.
yeah, she is looking in his eyes and totally seeing Kanan Jarrus, and likely doesn't want Jason to follow down that path because, you know, it leads people to, like, hop on top of fuel cells and hold back flames to save the people that you love.
Yeah.
But also, watch that Rebel Season 4 breakdown because there is some unresolved history with Caleb Doom when he was brought to Lothal, it looks like based off of those cave paintings by Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Mace Windu. And Jason is totally inheriting that. What? Okay, so back on the
Yeah.
T6, Sabine says,
I was hoping that the urgency of our situation could expedite my training a bit.
Jedi like Anakin and Ahsoka were in a hurry to get better with the
Yeah.
Force during the Clone Wars
They
and for
had
Anakin to
to.
go back and save his mom, which really is the worst time to hone this kind of training because you take it harder when you don't pick it up fast enough. You're worried that every failure and setback is causing pain and hurt somewhere around the galaxy. Peacetime is the best time to become a good Jedi. Sabine says that she can't use the Force, and Ahsoka counters,
Force resides in all living things, even you.
yes, in Rebels Trial of the Darksaber, Kanan says essentially the same thing about Sabine to Hera.
The Force resides in all living things, but you have to be open to it. Sabine is blocked. Her mind is conflicted. She's so expressive and yet so tightly wound. She's so...
Mandalorian.
Which is a much nicer way of putting it than what Hu Yang has been dropping this episode. Beep beep, you suck. Hu Yang even continues to talk shit.
The Jedi Order would not have accepted her. She is not an acceptable candidate.
By their standards.
Yeah, by their
Standards which were
standards.
proven over a millennia.
And failed.
Ooh, shots fired from
Ooh,
Ahsoka.
yeah.
Ahsoka is expressing her parting ways with the
Anakin.
Jedi Order during Clone Wars Season 5, and yes, the Jedi Order's obvious failure when Anakin betrayed them and led the Purge. Ahsoka may also be stung all the way back from the Clone Wars movie when Anakin told her when they first met,
You never would have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan. but you might make it as mine.
Hu Yang says,
You realize, historically, there have been very few Mandalorians who ever became a Jedi.
well, one who did was named Tar Vizsla, the first wielder of the Darksaber, and since Sabine hails from House Vizsla, technically she is his descendant.
Yeah.
Like maybe she's like 164th Tar. Hu Yang also says,
Well, I suppose you do come from a long line of non-traditional Jedi.
yeah, he's referring to the chain of masters that Ahsoka comes from. Her master was Anakin, his master was Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Obi-Wan, yep.
his master was Qui-Gon Jinn, his master was Dooku, and his master was Yoda. So all of them exceptions to the norm. Sabine does that thing that we have all tried to do before when you eat breakfast alone and you try to force summon a cup across the table. And I love how she initially squints with one eye aiming like a blaster. Her background, of course, is in weaponry, but she exhales and she refocuses, keeping both eyes open to the living force. We learn all the comms in the Denab system are being jammed, cutting off Hera's bad news, and Hu Yang drops him out of hyperspace far from Cetos following standard Jedi mission protocol, which was referenced back in Ahsoka episode 1. Hu Yang says,
The transport was in orbit on the far side of the planet. However, there also seems to be a second object, something much larger.
yeah, we get an ominous look at the planet of Cetos, and we can't help but recall the Falcon crew arriving to the Alderaan debris field and seeing a moon that ended up being the Death Star.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
6 pilots led by Shin and Murak pursue them in these awesome-looking fighters with
Yeah, I've never
weathered
seen
red
those.
and yellow paint
What
and a
kind are
buzzing
those?
World War II style design. Based on how
Yes,
they look, I'm gonna
like
assume that these ships
Mustangs.
come from the Clone Wars era. Maybe modified Belulab 22s, originally from the Republic Commando game, and later came back in Revenge of
look
the
like
Sith
Mustangs.
and Clone Wars as separatist fighters. The hole on the nose, though, reminds me of the MiG-15, which was a Soviet-designed fighter jet used in the Korean War. It's also kind of reminiscent of the P-47 Mustang with the rounded
see?
cowlings and the
See?
nose of the F-2F
Look like
Brewster
the
Buffalo.
Mustang.
Whatever. It just looks old and scrappy. It sounds awesome. The rapid rate of blaster fire is sick. A lot of fun watching these, even if Ahsoka's T6 should have been obliterated several times.
Yeah.
Just the dogfighting here is great, because George Lucas originally based his aerial combat imagery for the first Star Wars film on actual World War II air battle footage. So it's always been part of the franchise's DNA. Sabine complains,
I see you got rid of my presets.
I never needed them.
yeah, Ahsoka claims to not need computers to aim because she can use the Force. Kind of sounds like these two got in a lot of shit in their time after the Rebels finale. We
Yeah.
need some flashbacks to that. So after Ahsoka tried to train Sabine to learn to anticipate, and before rejecting urgency as a way to improve one's skills, now Ahsoka gives in, and she adapts.
Sabine, tell me what you need.
This teamwork between the pilot and the gunner is just what makes this all so fun. Hera and Chopper did it in that cool move in episode 2. Rey and Finn did it with the Falcon in The Force Awakens. And hey, we do it every time we ride Smuggler's Run. Hey, you can keep pilot and gunner. I like the engineer. I like pushing the buttons when they light up. Ahsoka uses the unique function of the T6, its rotating wings, to surprise the two pilots with a game of chicken, going vertical at the last second, catching them off guard so Sabine can take one of them out and give herself some confidence. Her exaltation may remind you of Luke's "I got one" from A New Hope.
I got him! Great kid! Don't get cocky!
But whereas Han Solo responded to him with "Nice work, kid, but don't get cocky," Ahsoka just gives Sabine a very wholesome "good work" and forgives her when she misses one. Now, from the Eye of Sion, Morgan Elsbeth fires turbo lasers. Hu Yang says,
See if you can get a little closer.
Are you crosswired?
Closer, please.
I don't know if it's just me, but David Tennant's tone here as Hu Yang totally reminds me of Hannibal Lecter's line to Clarice in Silence of the Lambs.
Closer.
Like Sabine pushing it with that explosive HK droid head in episode 2, Hu Yang pushes it here.
Just a moment. Scan complete.
Now
And they
Shin
got
radios to Morgan.
Congratulations. You almost got them. I have eyes on them.
Like the high-res Dark Sister holo projections on the Eye of Sion at the end of episode 2, now even the audio communication has a smoother fidelity. Like the hardware Morgan is using on the ship might have been designs transmitted to her from Thrawn's new galaxy or his old galaxy. I'm reminded of the alien technology transmitted to Earth in the movie Contact, which were blueprints for creating a ring-based transportation device.
That's a good
to
movie,
take us
by the
through
way.
a wormhole back to them. The tech that Thrawn and his forces use could be based on some long-forgotten but superior technology of of the Rakatan builders, or the celestial gods of Mortis, or whoever it's gonna end up being. Also, I gotta point this out, the shots of Shin Hati in her cockpit, she wears the comms headpiece so that the band goes under her bangs, because she will not mess up her do for this. And yes, it's the same kind of headset that Anakin wears in the Battle of Coruscant during this fun moment.
This is where the fun begins.
Meanwhile, the headset that Sabine wears looks like the wiry one that Han Solo wears when he was in the Falcon gunner seat in A New Hope. Now, craziest moment of this episode, Ahsoka suits up in this fly spacesuit with custom designed headgear that perfectly fits her Laku. And yes, I do not understand the gravity of her walking out on the wing like that, or when she leaps, why the jump would form an arc and not kick her out directly off into space.
Well, if you look, she has
third law. But you know what? There is no.
If you look at, I know when I was watching it, if you look at it, she actually has little jet. There's little tiny puffs of jet on the back to keep her like balanced and everything. So I get that.
In Star Wars, folks, there shouldn't even be sound in space. None of this has ever adhered to the laws of physics, but there might be like magnetic clips in her boots. Now, on her second flip jump, Ahsoka uses her lightsaber to sever the fighter's wing, reminding us of Rey's big flip move in The Rise of Skywalker on Pisano when she used her lightsaber to wreck Kylo Ren's TIE Interceptor. Now, this just causes Ahsoka to float loose, but if you look closely, some sparks fly off of her back tech. So this may have been some kind of jetpack thruster, maybe a localized gravity regulator. I don't know. I'm doing my best here, folks. Sabine ends up using the same rotating wing mechanism that Ahsoka used before, now to rake Ahsoka back into the hatch. Now again, Balin saw some Purgle in the cloudy skies over Cetos last episode, and now Sabine and Ahsoka see him up close.
This was a cool scene right here, flying by them. That was really cool. It's a good sound design too.
So good. The closed captions on Disney Plus actually describe this sound as melodic rumbling. It is a huge deal for Sabine to see these. The Purgle were, of course, the hyperspace whales that Ezra summoned in the final episode of Rebels to defeat Thrawn, fulfilling Bendu's prophecy to Thrawn in the season 3 finale that Thrawn would be defeated with many arms surrounding him in a cold embrace. And those whales zipped both of them off into hyperspace. The Purgle were first introduced in Rebels season 2 episode 15, The Call, when the Ghost crew came across an asteroid gas refinery where Purgle feed on that gas to survive. Ezra made a connection with the Alpha Purgle by looking into its eye, forming this lifelong connection that he would call upon in his hour of need in the series finale. I wonder if the clouds of Cetos might be composed of a similar gaseous substance as what was in that planetoid structure in the Call episode. Now, in the Rebels finale episode, and we see in this series, Sabine has actually added a Purgle to the pauldron of her armor, so she has been dreaming of this moment. Purgle do actually show up in the constellations of the closing credits, along with a single Loth wolf by the planet Lothal. I actually translated every single rune, planet, and hidden clue on that star map in another video. Definitely watch it. It's extremely important to know what the series is really doing. And with Dave Filoni so obsessed with wolf imagery, the character name of Marok is based on the Arthurian legend, a character associated with wolves. Filoni's X-Wing pilot character is named Trapper Wolf. Everything about the Loth wolves that you can learn by watching that Rebels 4 recap video. It's just worth reminding everyone that wolves and whales share a common evolutionary ancestry, as the reason whales are mammals and not fish is that they had a common mammalian ancestor that lived close to water and eventually evolved into a whale. Now, while in the Rebels finale there was a mix of big Purgle and smaller ones, here there only seem to be big ones. Have they grown? Sabine pilots right by the big Purgle's eye. So it is also important in this moment that Sabine is piloting, not Ahsoka. It's Sabine's time to fly.
Haven't seen those creatures since the day Ezra disappeared.
And I wonder if, when this huge Purgle looks into this cockpit, it might zero in on the friend who desperately misses the boy.
I mean, and Ezra and them have the connection, so maybe
helps them during this chase. Its undulating tentacles fold down behind the T6, closing it off from view from Shin.
Was that on
and
purpose
when Sabine
or
finds an opening, it might have been one intentionally created by the Purgle moving its tentacles out of the way. They end up parking the T6 in this grove of red trees, masking it as these red leaves match the T6's red paint. This setting reminds me of the mystic weirwood trees in A Song of Ice and Fire. It's just a lot of interesting stuff going on here visually. Actually, its name, Cetos, like Arcana, clearly referencing the word arcane, Cetos must mean something, as either the seat of power, or maybe these ruins are kind of tossing themselves into the sea. While these Stonehenge-inspired ruins are positioned by the sea, it's just interesting to me that the true open gulf that this point jumps out into is up into the clouds with the whales, and beyond that, into the stars. Hu Yang identifies the Eye of Sion as a hyperspace ring. Smaller versions of these were used by Jedi starfighters like the one Obi-Wan piloted in Attack of the Clones to dock up with and then let the ring carry the hyperdrive. This one has 7 engines so that it can jump galaxies. I like how the final shot of Sabine and Ahsoka frames them on either side of this ring, both of them equally propulsive to move this union forward. But Hu Yang has an interesting line here.
The Jedi archives speak of intergalactic hyperspace lanes between galaxies, which used to follow the migration paths of star whales named Purgle.
Jedi archives. The Jedi knew about other galaxies, and they knew about the Purgle as the link to them. In Rebels Season 4, Episode 12, we meet a character named Minister Hayden outside the Lothal Jedi Temple, right before the World Between Worlds episode, and he discusses Jedi lore with the Emperor.
The symbols and iconography are reminiscent of a report I discovered in the Jedi archives.
The Mortis gods.
The Mortis gods in Jedi archives. So if these Mortis gods are Star Wars celestials, if they come from another galaxy, and if the Jedi archives knew about that, this could all be connected through the Mortis gods and the World Between Worlds, a dimension that transcends time. Look, folks, most of the trailer footage has been seen now. All that's really left that we have not seen in an episode are the duel between Ahsoka and Baylan in the Star Map ruins on Cetos, and a duel between Shin and Sabine in the nearby trees. That's probably coming next episode, since this episode ends with Baylan sending his forces into that forest. Trailers have also given us 2 shots of Thrawn, one from behind, one from in front. So think about that. Episodes 5 through 8 could look like anything. Dave Filoni is directing episode 5. So I think after Ahsoka and Baylan's duel next episode, the wolves are gonna howl. The best way to support this channel is by grabbing an Ahsoka-inspired Fulcrum shirt available at...
Oh, man. Another amazing breakdown from Mr. Eric Voss on New Rockstars. Like I said, I'm enjoying this show, getting these details and more knowledge as I go. So amazing. I say, newer Star Wars fan. Appreciate it. Let me know down below what you guys think. If you've been watching the show, you like it or not. Breakdowns you enjoy watching, but yeah, till next time, guys, I will see you when I see you. And if you want to check out Robert Storm, he did a good breakdown episode. He had some real knowledge and some real insight and some theories he thought, so check him out. Until next time, guys, I'll see you when I see you.